Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahano Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karvavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu Ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Sadashiva Samarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmad Acharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam. Om Gurur Brahma Gurur Vishnu Gurur Devo Maheshwaraha Guru Sakshat Parabrahma Tasmai Shri Gurve Namaha. Om Saraswati Namastubhyam Varde Kamarupini Vidyarambham Karishyami Siddhir Bhavatu Me Sada. Om Karpanyadoshopahatah Swabhavah Prichhami Tvam Dharma Sammudchetah Yashreyasya Nishchitam Bruhi Tanmay Shishyasteham Shadhimam Tvam Prapannam. Om Vangme Manasi Pratishtita Mano Me Vachi Pratishtitam Avir Avirma Edhi Vedasya Ma'anisthaha Shrutam Me Ma Prahasihi Anena Adhitena Ahoratran Sandadhami Ritam Vadishyami Satyam Vadishyami Tanmavatu Tadvaktaram Avatu Avatu Mam Avatu Vaktaram Avatu Vaktaram. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Bhadram Karnevhi Shrunayam Devaha Bhadram Pashyema Akshabhir Jatraha Sthirairange Stushtvagvam Astanubhihi Vyashema Devahitam Yadayuhu Swasti na Indro Vratashravaha Swasti na Pusha Vishwavedaha Swasti Nastarksho Arishtanemihi Swasti no Brahaspatir Dadhatu. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Aham Vrikshasya Reriva Kirti Prishtham Gireriva Urdhva Pavitro Vajaniva Swamritam Asmi Dravidagvam Sarvachasam Sumedha Amritokshata Iti Trishankor Vedanu Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Narayan.
Narayan.
Wish you a very happy new year.
Wish you happy new year too.
Thank you. Okay. So there are a few things that I wanted to cover today in the first class, but maybe because, maybe we'll wait for the next class when, more regular attendance kicks in, or maybe at the end of the class, we'll cover some of the things. For example, I wanted to us to, understand the invocation shlokas meanings a lot more. So we are going to go through the meanings once, maybe at the end of the class or in the next class, when we start off. And we'll also start the roster for invocation shlokas again from the next class onwards. And this roster is going to be a little different in the sense that we are going to, when we do invocation shlokas, I will actually be consciously taking notes to be able to help deepen our sadhana. So we'll give feedback on what can be improved further in our diction and the way we do the invocation. Okay. So that's one thing that we want to do. Another thing is that I think we've got enough people. Do you want us to go through it right now? Maybe we can do the invocation shloka meaning. Maybe we can do it right now, which is what I had initially planned that we'll do it today. Okay. Does everyone have the PDF? Can you send it over?
Yeah.
Okay. So we'll start with the first one, right? We'll do the meanings of each of them, and Abhinav is going to send the document over for everyone's benefit. So the first one we do Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu. So Saha means together, and what is being invoked here is that we are saying that may God protect both the teacher and the student together. Om Sahana Bhavatu. Sahanau Bhunaktu is may God nourish both of us, both the teacher and the student together. So teacher is actually the wrong word, but it's like preceptor essentially.
So actually, before Tuvina goes deeper into explaining, I think I want to be clear about the bhav with which we are coming and doing this, the intent with which we are coming and doing this. Like everything that we are learning in the Gita so far, it's all about having the right bhav, having the right intent. And with invocation shlokas, as we share the roster for everyone to do it, it's not just reciting the Sanskrit. It's having reverence of the meaning of what we are saying for ourselves and for the world, right? So an invocation shloka essentially is, there are two purposes. One, to center ourselves from the hustle bustle of the world. We do the ohms, we take deep breaths, taki our energy kind of slows down, our mind quietens, and the invocation shloka is a way of us calling out our own divinity. Because this class is not done by Abhinav and Tuvina, it is done by Krishna through us, and we are invoking the Krishna in all of you, right? So that's purpose one of the invocation shloka. The second purpose is we are literally calling Bhagwanji. So when we are calling him, we have to say the right name. Na? If someone calls me, instead of wants to call me, but calls me Anubhav versus Abhinav, it would make a huge difference, right? In my experience, in my willingness to come.
Or
right?
him even knowing that he's being called
Or
out.
him even knowing that it's being called out. So we're giving everyone the roster and as an opportunity so that we can practice the pronunciation, to call him the right way, because this can be done not only in class, this can be done tomorrow before a meeting that you want to go to, tomorrow before a crisis, tomorrow when you're feeling agitated and you want to invoke his energy, you just calm down and say it. So after we say it correctly, it's also, I would always recommend you memorize it as well, right? So that's the intent with which we are coming, that for us to be able to do this, understanding the meaning of this is very important, because nothing should be a ritual in this class or as part of our sadhana. Everything should have deep purpose and meaning of why we're doing it.
And as we all come into the class, right, when we are coming into the class, there is so much of life going on before this, right? So we are in a very Rajoguni Bhav, right? We are all in a Rajoguni Bhav. So the invocation shlokas are a way to move from Rajoguni Bhav to a Satoguni Bhav, so that we are able to absorb the class in a much more effective manner. Okay. So which is why meaning is extremely important. Feeling is extremely important. Feeling it when you're saying it, you are not just parroting the words, but you actually understand what are you invoking, and that feeling inside of you is what really invokes. It's not just the words. The words themselves have meaning. They themselves have an impact. They have an energy to them. But when you infuse that energy with a feeling and an understanding of what you're invoking, at that time, the value of or the creation that you do is that much stronger. Okay, that is why it is extremely important for us to know what we are saying. So going back to the invocation shlokas.
So I've just sent the PDF on the WhatsApp group. Yeah. So Tuvina will be referring to that PDF.
It's the same that you've said, right?
Yeah, it's the same PDF. So you guys can follow what she's reading.
Okay. So we'll start with the first invocation shloka and its meaning. So Om Sahana Vavatu. Om, as you all understand, is the primordial sound. It is the sound from which everything in this world has got created. So there can be an entire class on Om, so I'm not going to get deeper into it. Sahana Bhavatu is invocation that may Lord protect both the preceptor and the student together. Sahanau Bhunaktu. Bhunaktu means nourishment. So may the Lord nourish both the teacher and the student together. Saha Viryam Karvavahai. Virya is potency, energy, Shakti. So may we work together with energy, with vigor. Okay. Tejasvina Vadhi Tamastu. Avadhit is Vidya, the studies that we are doing. And Tejasvi means brilliance. So we are invoking that may our study that we are doing together, may it be brilliant and effective. Okay, may it bring Tej inside of us and around us. Ma Vidvishavahe, may there be no hostility between the teacher and the student. Okay, may there be no hostility between us. So that's the first invocation shloka. So we are setting an intent for where we are blessing both the teacher and the student, and we are establishing a relationship here, which should be that of friendliness. The second one is where we are starting a, so this is basically the first one is the essential agreement of the class, right? And then the second one, we are moving on to now invoking the Guru Shaktis, because it is only with the beneficence of our gurus that we can really accelerate our journey. Gurus have a very, very powerful impact on us. So so the next two shlokas, we are going to give our obeisance to the Guru Tattvas, the Guru Shaktis around us from the very beginning. The Adi Guru is considered to be Shiva. He's supposed to be the first Guru, the Guru of all Gurus. So we are in the second shloka giving obeisance to the entire lineage of the Gurus. Okay?
So the first shloka also highlights to the environment of our satsang. Okay, this is a satsang. It is not a class that is led by anyone. It is Bhagwanji who is setting this environment for us. And it is only in this satsang environment that we can invoke the Gurus. If we are not in satsang, we are not in satagun in our own being, we will not be able to invoke Guruji's presence as part of it.
So Sada Shiv Samarambham. So we are saying from the very beginning, where there was Adi Guru, Sadashiv. So from the beginning of Sadashiv, Adi Guru, to Shankaracharya in the middle, the Adi Shankaracharya, and all the way to my own Guru in the current in the current moment. This entire lineage, I bow down with reverence, and I'm basically invoking their blessings for my studies. That's what we are talking about. And who's the Guru? Who's the Acharya? Aswad Acharya Paryanta. This is Gita Ma for us. There's Gita Ma, there's Babaji, Babuji. They are the ones who we are bowing down in reverence to for bringing this to us. In the next shloka, we are continuing to create our sentiment with which we are approaching the Guru Tattva. The sentiment with which we must make, like basically this is us increasing our vessel, making our vessel bigger to be able to receive the blessings that will come from Guru Tattva. And how do we do that? Is by creating the right intent. So our intention is that Guru is the Brahma, Guru is the Vishnu, and Guru is the Maheshwara. So Guru is the one who has the creative energy. He is the sustainer, and he is also the destroyer. So he's the creator of the right thoughts. He's the sustainer of wisdom, and he is the destroyer of ignorance inside of me. Okay, Guru Sakshat Parabrahma. So the Parabrahma that we are trying to reach out to, he is present in front of us through the Guru Shaktis. The strength of Guru's blessings is as strong as if you are in presence of Parabrahma. That is the sentiment with which we approach the Gita Ma. The Gita, the book, it is not just a book. This is the sentiment, the reverence with which we approach the class, the book, and the Babuji, the entire lineage that has brought this to us. Okay, the higher our sentiment, the bigger our ability to absorb the blessings that come to us from here. The next one is salutations to Goddess Saraswati. She is she's supposed to be consort of Brahmaji, and she is the one who basically is the giver of wisdom. Okay, so we are basically saying Saraswati Namastubhyam, salutations to Devi Saraswati. Varade Kam Rupini. So Rupini, as in she's the embodiment of Vardhan, the boons, and Kam, giver of desires, fulfiller of wishes, right? So you are giving salutations to her. Vidya Rambham Karishyami. So we are beginning our studies, we are beginning our education. So Siddhir Bhavatu Me Sada, bestow on me Siddhi. Siddhi meaning my ability to reach the conclusion, right? So Siddhi is capacity of right understanding, because she is the giver of wisdom. So we are seeking her blessings on this path of education, right? So all our ignorance gets destroyed. The next one is, as we've said, this is Shloka 2.07. This is the point after which Gita really begins, because we can only learn from somebody when we are in a space where we are in a space of studentship. Now, we have learned that there are different types of studentships, right? Different degrees of studentship. This Karpanya Dosh embodies the highest form of studentship. Okay, so this is where we say Karpanya Dosho Pahata Swabhavaha. Karpanya is basically is stinginess. Okay, stinginess meaning miserliness of not using your resources that are available to you properly. So you keep them aside, and basically when you keep them aside, they get wasted, whether it is your money, whether it is muscle mass, whether it is your brains, intelligence, whatever resources God has given to us, when we do not use them to their utmost ability, they will get rusted and they will get wasted. So what we are saying is that I have got the fault of Karpanya. I have the fault, the dosh of stinginess, miserliness. I'm not using the resources that have been made available to me properly. And what has that caused? It has caused my swabhav to be kidnapped. Pahata swabhav. Aprahat. Aprahat means apaharan kar lena, to be kidnapped. And what has been kidnapped by this fault of miserliness? My swabhav. Swabhav means my inherent nature. And what is my inherent nature? My inherent nature is Sat Chit Anand. My inherent nature is I am constant, never born, never dying. No, there is no decay. It is limitless. It is constantly in a state of anand, in bliss, right? So that is my swabhav, but it has been kidnapped by this miserliness, the fault of miserliness, which basically creates limits around my ability to understand and use these resources. Prachami Tvam Dharma Sammud Cheta. Sammud Cheta is Chit, the mind that is confused. Sammud ho gaya hai. It has become mood. Mood means it has become gross. It has become confused. So a mind that has become confused and hence does not know what is its dharma, does not know what is its duty. So he's saying that this is what has happened to me. My mind is now confused about my duty. So I'm asking you, Prachami Tvam, I'm asking you, such a person in this state, I'm asking you, Yat Shreya. Shreya means my ultimate benefit. Ultimate benefit, Sya Nishchitam. Nishchit hi, must, definitely. So tell me in definite terms, what is definitely in my ultimate good? What is my ultimate benefit? Bruhi Tanme, tell me. So I am asking you, tell me what is it that is for my ultimate benefit. Shishyasteham, I am your student. Shadhi mam tvam prapannam. But what kind of student I am of yours? One who has fully surrendered myself to you. So I now am not using my intellect. I am not using my intellect to create barriers in between what you're telling me and what I can absorb. I've removed all barriers. I'm fully going to absorb what you tell me, and I will take that and act on that information or that, so tell me, basically, I've taken full refuge in you. The next one is Om Vangme Manasi Pratishtita. Vangme means my speech. Manasi is my mind. So Pratishthit is established. Let my speech be established in my mind. Mano me vachi pratishthritam. And let my mind be established in my speech. Now, what does this really mean? It means what we are asking for is, let me be very conscious of my words. Let me use my words meaningfully. So I don't use my words lightly. Okay, I understand what I'm saying and I fully stand by what I say. A lot of times we end up saying things which we don't mean. Here we are asking God to bless us so that we are able to take that fault out of us. And we start to own our words. We mean what we say. Okay. Then he says, Avir Avirma Edhi. Avirma Edhi is basically saying with these two, with mind and speech that are established in each other, may I be able to see Lord. And how do I see Lord? The knowledge of Atma become revealed to me through my speech and mind that I established in each other. And let them explain to me, or let the knowledge of Vedas come to me through these. So as my speech and mind become established in each other, and I am able to reveal the knowledge of Vedas, that will cause Lord to appear before me. Essentially, that is the blessing that I'm seeking. Shrutam mema prahasi. May I not forget what I have learned. So what have I learned from Vedas? What I have learned, let me retain them. So otherwise what happens is we hear and then we forget. So we are seeking the blessing that whatever I hear, let me retain that. And not just learn from listening from others, but also anena adhitena ahoratran sandadhami. So here what I'm saying is, let me, whatever I also gain. So one is Shruti knowledge, Shruti. The second one is where we act, experiential knowledge. So with my hard work and with my constant swadhyay that I do day and night, whatever I learn from that, sandadhami, let me retain that also. Let that not depart from me. Okay, so we are seeking that the knowledge that comes from me through Shruti, through other sources, through Vedas, and what I learned from my experience, let that stay with me. Let me not forget. As Arjun says in the end, right? I now remember, because he had forgotten. So we are asking Lord to bless us so that we do not forget the knowledge that we attain. Ritam vadishyami, I will speak the divine truth. Satyam vadishyami, I will speak the absolute truth. Tanma vavatu, may Lord protect me. Tad vaktaram avatu, let Lord protect the speaker. Avatu mam avatu, so avatu mam, protect me. Avatu vaktaram, protect the speaker. Avatu vaktaram, protect the speaker. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Okay. The next one, we are, so in the next one, again, we are invoking the blessings. So what is the blessing that we want? You have to be very clear about what we are asking. See, we are asking for blessings, but what kind of blessings we are asking for, right? So in the first one, we've asked for, what do you call it? Harmony between what we think and what we speak and what we feel and what we do. That's the harmony. When we are in harmony, when all these different layers of us are in harmony, we are Brahma. That is the power that we have in creation of the world around us. In the second one, we are asking Lord, Om Bhadram Karnebhi Shrunayam Deva. May only what we hear be auspicious. Okay, so what we hear, that means we do not want to hear gossip. Now, is it about the other person saying something? No, it may be whatever. Like people may be saying anything around us. It is what our ears pick up. What am I hearing when I take away? When somebody talks to me, what is it that I take away is dependent on me. So may I only hear and retain auspicious conversation. I do not want to indulge in gossip. I do not want to hear bad words. I do not want to hear bad things. Okay. May my eyes only see what is auspicious. Bhadram Pashem Akshabhira Jatra. So may I only see auspicious. So may I only see good things in the world around me. So I'm constantly in a space of gratefulness. I'm hearing the right things. I'm seeing the right things. I'm speaking the right things. Right? Sthirar Ange Stusht Vagvam Swasthanubhi. So may my ang is limbs, basically, right? Body parts. So with body parts that are strong and a healthy body, a full healthy body, Vyashema Deva Hitam Yadayu, in whatever lifespan, the ayu that I have been given, lifespan that I have been given, in that entire lifespan with healthy body and healthy mind, may I only do things that are Deva Hitam, that are in what do you call it? What is the word we use?
For
Lok Sangrah, right? Deva Hitam is anything that we do for Lok Sangrah. So that is for good for everyone that we do. And then Swastina Indro Vridhashravaha, may Lord Indra of great fame, Indra Vridhashravaha, may he bless us. Swastina Pusha Vishwaveda. So Lord Pusha, who is all-knowing, Vishwaveda, he knows everything. May he bless us. Swasti Nars Tarksho Arishtanemi. May the Lord Tarksha, who is the Lord Garuda, he's the destroyer of evil, may he bless us. And Swasti no Brahaspatir Dadhatu, Lord Brahaspati, who is basically the one who expands everything. He's the Lord of expansion. So may he bless us too. And the last one is an invocation of our real nature. This is where we tell ourselves, where we invoke and we establish ourselves in our real nature. So what are we telling ourselves in this last shloka? Aham vrikshasya re riva. I am the cause of this tree. I am the root of this tree. I am the seed of this tree. What is this tree? The tree of the world, the tree of creation. So I am the cause of this creation, the creation inside of me, the creation outside of me, and at a macrocosm level, at this, when I connect myself to the Lord, then I am the creator of this whole universe. Okay. Kirti Prishtham Girereva. My fame is as high as that of mountains, the highest of the peaks. Urdhva Pavitro Vajniva. I am, and so my fame is as high as the highest of the peaks, and I am as pure. Right? So this is, we are talking about ourselves. This is me, not someone else. It's me. Swamritam Asmi, Dravanagwam Sarvarchasam. Who am I? I am the Amrit. I am the purest of the pure essences. I am the essence of the sun. I am the light of the sun. And I exist everywhere. Sarvarchasam. I exist everywhere. Sumedha Amritokshataha. Sumedha is intelligence, the right wisdom. Amritokshataha. Akshataha is one that does not decay, one that cannot be destroyed. So I cannot be destroyed. I'm Akshay. I am Amrit. I am the Amrit, meaning the essence of all that is beautiful, powerful, strong. So money, power, wealth of all kinds. And I am the one who is supremely intelligent, who has the right wisdom. Iti Trishankor Vedanu Vachnam. This has been told to me by Rishi Trishankor after he has realized God. So this is the promise Rishi Trishankor has given to us. So this is a reminder to ourselves that this is who I really am. Okay, so these invocation shlokas, when we say them with the full understanding and full meaning and full value, then we will actually be able to invoke this inside of us. Okay, The concluding shlokas are actually much easier. So I will not talk about the first three because they are pretty simple to understand. I think most of us are also familiar with them. I want to talk about the last one, which is extremely powerful shloka in the end. This shloka again is a reminder to ourselves of who we really are. Okay, so Om Purnamada, the outer world is Purna. Okay, so there are several ways to look at this, right? So one is this outer world outside of us is full of divine consciousness, or we can say that the Lord is whole and complete in himself. The Lord is whole and complete. He does not need anything from outside to complete him. Okay, and he's fully established in himself. Purnamidam, this idam is this, right? That and this. So that is whole and complete. This is whole and complete. This also means this gross world is also whole and complete. It also means the world inside of me is whole and complete. I am whole and complete. I do not need anything or anybody from outside to complete me. I am whole and complete, and I have to accept myself for who I really am. Purnat Purna Mudachyate. From that wholeness, this wholeness has come out. To give you like exactly how you understand this is ocean, a bucket of water taken from that ocean, and a drop of water taken from that ocean. The quality of water is exactly the same. The only difference is quantity. The quality is exactly the same. So this is what you're saying, that when that water has been taken out from that ocean, it is exactly the same as that ocean. There is no difference in quality. So whatever has been taken out of that wholeness, that purna, is complete in itself. And if you take anything out of that purna, that from that wholeness, if you take the whole out, it still remains whole. How do you understand that? That means if you are infinity, infinity minus 2 is still infinity. Infinity minus 100 is also infinity. And infinity minus infinity is still infinity in mathematical terms. Right? So the moment we think of ourselves as infinite, then our ability to give rises exponentially. Nothing that we give to others of ourselves, our time, our resources, nothing is ever constrained. The moment you say, however large a number may be, the moment you make it finite, the moment you say it's not infinity, it is a very, very, very large number. From there, you can actually subtract. And then it doesn't remain the same number any longer, right? So the moment, however large it may be, the moment we create, the moment we identify ourselves with our senses and this gross world, we put boundaries around ourselves and we make ourselves finite. Then the sense of abhav starts to come. Because then if somebody takes something from me, then I have less now. But that's because we are not able to identify ourselves with the infinite that we really are. Okay, so this is the meaning of the last one.
And just
Purnasya Purna. Yeah, so that's really the meaning. Thank you.
I think was one thing from me on the last one is there is a reason why it's the last shloka as well in the closing shloka. It serves as a constant reminder that we don't need to operate out of fears and insecurities and the sense of I don't have enough or I'm not good enough. Our starting point has to be that of completeness, because we have divinity inside of us, which is whole and complete and beautiful. And it's just a reminder, right? So if we bring this bhav when we do the invocation and closing shlokas, it will just give all of us more energy as we practice.
So now after the class, we'll start a roster from next week onwards. I'll invite each one of you to practice. We'll also send these shloka recordings so that you can practice along with it. And whenever the person whose chance is there, when they do invocation, we will take notes to be able to correct and give feedback wherever there may be small little improvements required in the sadhana. But take that as a feedback for everyone, not just the person who's on the screen, but every single person must use that to remind themselves, to practice, to improve their own sadhana, right?
Should we do it the other way that Kumar started with us?
Yeah, that's what I'm going to do, the way Kumar did it with us in our class.
The way Kumar started it is
One line by one line.
one shloka by one shloka. So everyone got a little bit to digest. And then first 30 minutes of the class we do that. And the next 60 minutes we do that. Might be easier than one person doing all those shlokas. This is quite late.
Okay, we can talk about it, on how to do this. I talked to Kumar about the format. So, okay, we'll let you know the exact format. So Abhinav is suggesting maybe we do one shloka and then feedback, and then one shloka and then feedback. So either we'll do it that way, or we'll do the whole shlokas and then we'll give feedback. Whatever works, either way, I guess, depending on the person's own, whatever you prefer type of stuff, we can do it like that. Okay. The next thing I wanted to say was, we've been doing a chanting of chapter 3. So some of you have been doing that very effectively. Some haven't started for whatever reasons, right? Now, we are almost at the end of chapter 5, and we'll soon start chapter 6, which is around Dhyan Yoga. So we will be doing different practices in chapter 6. Now for chapter 3, we will not do chanting in the class any longer. But all of you who have been practicing chapter 3, I'll invite you to continue your sadhana and complete the rest of the shlokas that you have to learn. And please feel free to send them over to me. If you need any help in their chanting, please reach out. But I do think that, I don't think everybody got why we need to do this chanting in a more effective or powerful manner, and that's fine, right? But as with everything in Gita that we learn, we always have to look inside of ourselves if there is something that's outside of us that we're not happy with, right? So implementing this on myself, I have decided that I need to make my sadhana stronger. So my sadhana that I'm taking back from this is that so far for me, it has been like I can recite shlokas by themselves, but I want to take my sadhana stronger by being able to recite chapter 3, chapter 12, and chapter 15 from beginning till end. That would be my sadhana for this year, that I want to be able to do this all in a strong this thing, right? And as with everything else in Gita, right? As long as we keep focusing on ourselves and our sadhana, that sadhana then comes out in the environment by itself. So that's for me. That's my sadhana that I will do. Abhinav will have his own sadhana and his own takeaway, and all of us will do our own sadhana in the way that for which we are ready for, right? So we leave that here. Then, is one more thing I just wanted to, like, now that so many of us are here on the call, we had started off the class with Happy New Year. So I would like to wish you all a very, very happy and prosperous new year going forward. So how many of you actually made any New Year goals? Can I have a show of hands? Did anyone make New Year goals? Okay. So the reason I asked this was not from a point of view of, the New Year goal ritual. It's more from a perspective that we all need to be very conscious of how we live our lives, right? How conscious we are determines how much we control our destiny. It's a very important thing to remember. So we talk about karma, we talk about prarabdha, we talk about destiny, we talk about sanskars, right? We have to remember that all of this is our doing. It's completely our doing. And what does, and if you think about it, it is the greatest empowerment we can all have. So when we say destiny, what destiny is really, right? Destiny is whatever we will, okay, I'll come to that later, but just to drive home the point of consciousness, right? Since the time we have woken up till this moment, we have done a lot of things, right? Our body has been doing a lot of things. That's why we are alive. There has been a lot of activity going on at the physical level, at the body level, at our emotional level, at mental level, at an energy level. How much of this activity that we've done since the time we've woken up, like forget about the time when we were sleeping, when we are fully awake, since then, how much of that activity has been done in a conscious manner? Very, very little, less than 1%. Less than 1% of that activity is done consciously. When we live life in that kind of a fashion, in a non-conscious manner, the fate will play itself out. What is really fate, right? The world it's like an algorithm, right? The nature has its rules. It has a set of rules which it applies equally to everybody and everything, right? So gravity will apply itself to everything and everybody, irrespective of who you are. Similarly, all other nature's laws apply to all of us equally. Now, our actions, our sanskars, and our prarabdha, all of this is our input to that algorithm. And once you know the algorithm, you know the inputs, then there is a definite outcome that will happen. And that definite outcome is our destiny. Okay. So if, however, we change these inputs through a conscious behavior pattern, once you change the input, the output will naturally change. And depending on how consciously we are living our life, will determine how consciously we are changing the inputs where we want to change the inputs. Okay, and that is where the empowerment lies. And that is why we also did we spent so much time today doing the word meaning and understanding the invocation shlokas. Everything that we do must be done consciously. The greater the consciousness in how we live our life on a day-to-day basis, the greater is our definition of our own life. And we must not give this power away. It is for us to take. Okay, so we must bring that consciousness out on a daily basis, in every minute. And this, we will learn a lot more about it in the next chapter, which is the Dhyan chapter, right? So we will learn a lot more about that piece. Sorry, I've taken a lot of time before we actually dwell into the shlokas. Okay. So we last finished on shloka 21. We'll start with shloka 22. Okay, where we're talking about so in the last shloka we heard about what does a Gyan Yogi do to keep his mind and intellect established in Lord at all times. So we'll start with the next one. So we'll start with the connection. So Naina, would you like to read with us?
In the foregoing shloka, a mention has been made about pleasure seemingly inherent in external contacts and the indifference of the Jnana Yogi towards it. The Lord now says that in reality, there is not even an iota of pleasure in them.
Yehi sansparshaja bhoga.
Yehi samsparshaja bhoga.
Dukhyonaya evate.
Dukhayonaya evate.
Adyantavantaha kaunteya.
Adyantavantaha kaunteya.
Nateshu ramate buddhaha.
Nateshu ramate buddhaha.
Yehi is without any doubt, nisandeh. Sansparshaja is with contact, so with contact with sense objects. Okay. Bhoga is to, it basically means bhogna of any kind, but typically that bhog leads to suffering. So it really means to suffer. Dukh is sadness. Yonaya evata will come, right? It is obvious that the dukh will obviously come. Adyantavantaha, one that has an adi and an ant, a beginning and an end. Kaunteya, Kunti Putra, Na Teshu. So Kunti Putra again, Kunti was the daughter of Prithvi, Pritha. Her name was also Pritha. So whenever we refer to Arjun as Kaunteya, it means somebody who has gross consciousness. So we are referring to somebody who has gross consciousness. Na Teshu Ramate Buddha. Ramate is one who dwells. Na Teshu, in those. And Buddha is Buddhi wala Purush, intelligent person.
Whatever enjoyment seemingly appears to exist in external contacts, in fact, results in great unhappiness. Even this apparent happiness has a definite beginning and an end. So the wise man does not rejoice in that. The unhappy aspect of worldly pleasures, the expectation of happiness by obtaining objects of desire is only fanciful. It is nothing but a delusion. Obtaining an object of desire entails a back-breaking effort. Even during its enjoyment, its maintenance and its preservation entails sufficient hardship. When the enjoyment comes to an end, one suffers the pangs of longing for its continuance. Thus, in totality, external contacts bring nothing but unhappiness. But they appear to be as alluring as the illusory water in the mirage. The lure of the mirage is so great that a stag keeps running after it. It gets more and more thirsty, but gets no water to quench its thirst.
So
This is why.
So just quickly jump in. It's a reminder here that what is our natural state, and every single person in the world wants to be happy. Just like a moth chases light, we chase happiness. Our mind chases happiness and our senses chases happiness. The fact that we have 5 senses plus a mind, or ineffectively as 6 senses, we have 6 very strong, powerful organs that make us feel pleasure and pain. And our animality within us thinks or goes to the easiest way for us to chase pleasure and happiness. And that could be with the food, that could be with ice cream, that could be with a movie, that could be with massage, ambition, money, fame, status, anything. We feel, but essentially what we're chasing is sensory pleasure or ego gratification. Status, fame, money is all either ego or sensory. And the fact that we understand that all of that is temporary, we know that the duality will always kick in. Agar you are experiencing pleasure because of your senses or because of your ego, you will experience pain. Right? So this is a very ineffective way for us to chase happiness. The second reason why we chase happiness is because that's our innate nature. Sat Chit Anand, right? That's God's definition. And in reality, we do subconsciously know it, that we are chasing Bhagwanji. We are chasing the divinity within us. We are constantly looking for Sat, Chit and Anand, truth, permanence and happiness, which is why we are afraid of death, because we want permanence, which is why we talk a lot about legacy and stuff that we will leave behind. But in honesty, 60 years after we die, most people will not remember our name, not even our own family members, right? But we spend so much of our life hankering around creating legacy in sansar, or finding permanence in sansar, or finding happiness in sansar. But when in reality, all 3 things reside within us. The soul and the divinity we have is Sat, Chit and Anand. We just need to disengage our five senses, our mind and our ego, and redirect it inward. And we will experience Sat, Chit and Anand. Right? This has actually also been highlighted in economics, right? With law of diminishing returns. That when you engage with the world, you're like, I really, really want a chocolate ice cream. Take it. You have one ice cream. You'll have two ice creams. You'll have three ice creams. Very soon, that same ice cream's value will go down till a point where you will say, I dislike chocolate ice cream. Right? So we know that then that feeling of longing for a chocolate ice cream cannot be happiness because it's so temporary in nature. We're not chasing anything that is for our
And the
ultimate
happiness,
benefit.
and also from that point, right? Happiness is not in the chocolate ice cream. If it were, then that chocolate ice cream, irrespective of when and where you eat it and how many you eat it, you should get the same amount of happiness from that constantly. The happiness is not in the chocolate ice cream. Happiness is in our mind that we associate with that chocolate ice cream.
Yeah. I think the point is made. Good.
This is why the Lord says that a wise man entertains no expectation of getting happiness from external contacts. Of course, he puts to proper use any object that comes his way, but as he does not entertain any expectation of happiness from such objects, he never falls a victim to frustration or disappointment incumbent on non-realization of such an expectation.
So that's the extending the chocolate ice cream example a little bit. So if you have a chocolate ice cream, by all means enjoy it and enjoy the experience, because that is also God's creation for us through man, of course. It's not natural, but enjoy that. But don't let it sit in your mind that that's what happiness is. That's what I should be chasing.
So no hankering, and if it is not available, then you're not going to feel sad about that, right? So that is the that's what wise people do. They use the objects as and when they are required, but they do not suffer on account of it. Okay, they do not hanker after it, and hence they do not suffer. When it is there, you use it to the best of the abilities, right? There's one more piece that I wanted to discuss here. The unhappy aspects of worldly pleasures, right? So there are 4 types of unhappiness, 4 types. The first is called the Parinam Dukh. Parinam Dukh is the the unhappiness that comes from unexpected big changes in our life. Or
so these are 4 types of unhappiness.
Yeah, 4 types of unhappiness. Parinam Dukh is things that happen, right, unexpectedly, or big consequences of some action that we've taken. That is the Parinam Dukh, results, the unhappiness that comes from results. Tap Dukh. Tap Dukh is aprapti ka dukh, unhappiness because you haven't acquired something, you haven't got something, and this is what causes envy or jealousy. Tap dukh. So there is tap, there is unhappiness, there is heat that's generated, tap dukh. The third is sanskar dukh. Sanskar unhappiness is the unhappiness that comes from a painful memory. So you are attached to some old memory and you're constantly reliving it. So it comes from your sanskar. So that's another third unhappiness. And the fourth is what is called gun vritti virodh, where we are opposing a change in state. Any kind of state that is happening, we are avoiding any change in that state, which causes annoyance or irritation. It could be something very small, right? We're doing something, somebody comes and asks us to stop doing this and get us like do something else. That causes annoyance, irritation. We are sleeping, somebody comes and wakes us up, irritation, right? So from very small to very big. So that is gun vritti virodh. Okay? So, and all 4 of them are things that, like Abhinav said, very impermanent in nature and they all come from likes and dislikes. And we have to be able to get over them. And once we get over them, basically, there can be, जैसे कहते हैं, कष्ट होगा पर दुख नहीं होगा, right? So you may have some pain, but you will not have suffering. Pain is inevitable in this world, right? When we are living, pain is inevitable, but suffering is optional.
Tuhina, what is the last one you were saying?
It's a gun vritti virodh, which is a unhappiness that comes when you're trying to oppose a change in state, right? So, and that causes annoyance, it causes irritation, it causes upset. So an external force that will come to try and change your state of being that you're trying to oppose. You're not going with the flow.
Thank you.
So yeah, so like we said, pain is inevitable, but suffering is optional, right? Now, suffering, why do we have to avoid suffering? Because in practical terms, suffering paralyzes. Suffering stops us from being effective in a situation. When we are aware of that and when we are not suffering, but we can analyze the pain for what it is in any situation, physical, mental, emotional, then we are able to be effective in a situation where we are able to take the right decision on what we need to do to alleviate that pain, to change the situation for better. So we are effective in that space. Our wisdom is operating correctly. Suffering takes away that wisdom. It shrouds the wisdom. And we can get into a state of panic, or we can get into a state of paralysis. Both of them are very ineffective states of being. Yeah. Bhagyashree, will you read with us?
Thus, affirming the complete absence of any pleasure in external objects, the Lord now lays down an important principle. This principle would be found to be of immense value to a Jnana Yogi, a Karma Yogi, and for everyone who wants to achieve lasting happiness in one's lifetime.
Shaknoti haiva yah sodhum.
Shaknoti haiva yah sodhum.
Praksharira vimokshanat.
Praksharira vimokshanat.
Kama krodhodbhavam vegam.
Kama krodhodbhavam vegam.
Sayukta sa sukhi naraha.
Sayukta sa sukhi naraha.
Shaknoti it means samarth ho jata hai, is enabled. Haiv, Tihaiv is in this human body itself. So one who is enabled in this human body itself. Yaha, that person, sodhum, to bear, to be able to take, to bear. Prak sharir vimokshanat is before the body is destroyed. Kam krodhod bhavam vegam. Kam is desire, krodh, anger. So that which arises from kam or krodh, from desire or anger. Vegam, the impulses. So that which is arising from the impulses of desire and anger. Sa yuktaha, that yuktaha, such a yogi. Yuktaha is yogi, one who is always connected. Sa sukhi naraha, that person is a happy person. So here we are learning what it means to achieve moksha in this very lifetime before the body is destroyed. So moksha is not something that we are seeking after death. Moksha is to be attained here and now in this body while living this life. So what it means is being explained in this shloka.
A man who can withstand here in this world itself before quitting the body the onslaught of impulses arising from desire and anger is a yogi, and he alone is a happy person. Happiness only by withstanding the onslaught of desire and anger. The
So
following
just to connect this, right, to the previous shloka as well. So we talked about the five senses in the mind, how they create hankering for pleasure and happiness, and that's what we chase. And we're essentially chasing ego gratification and sensory pleasure. Now, what this shloka very clearly also says is you do not withdraw from the world, and you do not withdraw from your duty and your work to try and avoid interacting with sansar. The word here used is withstand. So if you think you can achieve happiness by withdrawing from things and your duty and from interaction with sansar, that will never be happy. That will never be real happiness. Real happiness will come in when you can experience the sansar, but have the discernment of what is right for you and what is not. That is when you will experience true happiness. And this is where the quality of intellect comes in. That you are part of this Gita class, part of this reading, and everything that we're doing is to try and sharpen that intellect. Sharpening that intellect only helps us discern, is what I am engaging in necessary for my duty, or is it me chasing sensual pleasure and ego, which will always be a slippery slope, right? So, and I think it's a little, they've introduced the word kama isha and krodha isha, which is desire and anger. The root cause of all suffering is desire and anger. And they both create very, very strong urges inside of us, right? They both are very, very strong emotions. And I think all of us will relate with it. When we get angry, there is this huge surge of energy. And that energy can be then used to like vent out and say things you don't mean. And, people can make all sorts of decisions when they're angry. And the exact same is true for desire. Your mind will justify why it's important and why you need it. And it creates a lot of energy for us to go and do action. But in reality, the urge needs to be contained. And our starting point always has to be using our intellect to identify what I am engaging in. Is it part of my duty? Or am I doing it because it feels good? Am I just talking about people in a way that makes me feel good about myself? Am I gossiping? Am I overeating? Could be anything, right? Am I justifying not having done something because somebody else did not do it, right? All of those things, you have to become aware that they all stem from a desire and anger. And guarantee anything that stems from there will lead to suffering, unhappiness. That there is no joy there, right? And that exists in all of us. It's not just any one person. All of us have shades of desire and anger. We have to find out where they are hidden, how they manifest, for each one of us, for us to use our intellect to rise above it.
And next time we are angry, we must always remind ourselves that anger is a space of weakness. It's loss of control. So anger is not a position of power. It's a position of weakness. So, and like Abhinav said, it can manifest in us in very different ways. So in one person, it may manifest in yelling. In another person, it can be complete withdrawal. So that person may be absolutely quiet and may withdraw with an intent to hurt the other person. That's passive aggression. That's also anger, but manifesting itself in a very quiet manner. So we have to constantly look at ourselves and evaluate how our anger and how our desires manifest themselves in this world, and then take control of them.
The following points have been emphasized in this shloka. Who is a yogi and a happy person? The Lord asserts that the impulses arising from the desires cropping up in the mind should be withstood by an imperturbable composure in the same manner in which the waters of the rivers are swallowed by the sea without their causing any change in the level of the sea. Such a person,
Here I'll give an example that most of us will relate to. Like all of us in our office meetings, will always have one person who is always ready to talk. Whether they're involved in that situation, not involved, they'll always have an opinion. And whenever whenever the presenter or whoever else asks any thoughts, questions, they'll be the first one to jump and like give their opinion or criticize or whatever, right? This person, you can be sure that this impulse for that person is so strong that it's stemming from their desire to be liked or heard, not to add value to the content, to the meeting. And there are some people who will say, who literally have one sentence worth of content, but they will say it with a 20-minute prelude. That again, they want to be heard. That's their innate subconscious desire. And this is where it manifests in very small aspects. How it shapes and changes our behavior. That are we doing things because we want to be liked by others? Or are we actually contributing in the meeting because
In a meaningful way.
So that it benefits the company?
Moves the dialogue forward.
But yeah, I thought that was an example when it crossed my mind. I said, yeah, all of us have seen that person and judged him, but now you can see that person and just quietly appreciate. That's an impulse we all share. It just manifests in different ways.
Abhinav judges that in me all the time, by the way. So I'm that Kinu person.
I didn't say it, she said it. Sorry, please read.
such a person does not initiate an action due to the impulse of any desire. Actions are undertaken only in pursuance of some duty. The mind remains free from any provocation which would ordinarily rise in the mind of a person on encountering any impediment in the fulfillment of desires. Even if a slight provocation or reaction arises, it subsides in a very short time, like the ebbing of the water of the sea. In this shloka, the Lord does not lay stress on not allowing the impulses of desire and anger even to raise their heads at all, but lost the strength to withstand them. One who evinces that strength is said to be a real yogi and a real happy person.
So this is that fallacy that we have, right? Sometimes, oh, aap to calm hui. You're a calm person. You're blessed with that. You're blessed with patience. But in reality, everyone feels the same reactions and emotions that we experience in those situations. The same triggers that will trigger you to be angry will work for me as well. The difference would be that when you start doing the Gita and sharpening the intellect, you create a little bit of space in your mind where you've now controlled your impulses. So you're from reacting, you are trying to move to responding. So when an external object hits you, you feel the experience which is gross and unfavorable. Instead of now reacting immediately, you like, no, intellect, okay, let's observe what's happening. Why is it happening? That's what we also refer to as self-awareness. And when you have that self-awareness, it gives you a choice. And that is your humanity. In that space of choice, you can choose how you want to respond.
Whether you go with what is your sanskar, which is your inbuilt habits, or whether you choose to do what is the right thing. Sometimes your sanskar is the right thing to do as well. But in certain cases, your sanskar is probably the worst thing to do in a certain situation. So you have to move away from it. So rather than being a slave to your sanskars rather than being a slave to your habits. You will now consciously take a decision of behaving whatever is the right way to behave or right way to be in a certain situation.
So I'll give this same example I've given, I'm sure, earlier, because it's one of my favorites, is when the India-Pakistan, that partition thing was happening, everyone in the country was emotional. Everybody was very angry. And obviously Gandhi went and said, yeah, I'm okay with the partition. He signed those documents and people were very, very upset at Gandhi that he agreed to give up India and agree with partition. So one day he was walking out of his ashram and there was a huge protest in front of the house. And this guy was really angry. He came in front of Gandhiji and he spat on his face, right? Now, that was the external stimuli. Gandhiji, I can guarantee, would have experienced what you and I would experience, which is
Shock, upset,
Shock.
anger.
How can he, so insulting? All of these are perceptions to the situation. So we probably experienced all of it. Now he could have reacted by saying, "Pakdo usko, jail mein dalo usko." Like he could have immediately said, "Catch him, put him in jail." He could have reacted by being meek, by saying, "Oh no, I'm so sorry, ye wo vagara, I'm sorry, I upset you," and then move away from the situation. Or because he was, I'd like to believe, enlightened, his response to that situation was he stopped, he took his handkerchief out, he wiped his face, and he said, "Chalo, ek bhai ne to gussa thuka." Right? Now, just that reaction, imagine the dialogue he's able to open up with that other person.
And he's choosing to be, he is not at the
Ignoring.
mercy of the other person's behavior to make him behave in a way that the other person wants him to.
So
He will continue to be who he wants to be in every situation. He wants to be a person who evinces love and compassion and tolerance and non-violence. He continued to be that person irrespective of the external stimuli.
So just to translate that, what he said is that, chalo, at least one of my brothers has spat out his anger. That was his response. So yes, I just wanted to highlight that, yeah, I mean, as we use our intellect, as we sharpen our antakaran, this is the space that we can create within our own selves as well.
Is it possible to do so while possessed of the physical form? To this, the Lord emphatically says yes. It is possible to acquire the strength to withstand the impulses of desire and anger even while possessed of the physical form. Of course, firm determination of mind and intellect is needed for this.
Yep.
Is it possible?
Go on.
Is it possible to do so while living in the world? To this also the Lord says yes. Whatever the circumstances of the world, the strength to do so can be acquired by giving a proper direction to the mind and the intellect. There is no special practice or effort to be undertaken. Only the mind and the intellect are required to hold fast to this principle. A person capable of doing so is fit to be called a yogi and a happy person. The state of happiness of a man does not depend on the wealth possessed by him or the status that he enjoys in the society or the extent of the following that he commands. All these assets are things to be utilized for certain specified purposes. None of these are of use in obtaining happiness and peace, but one who withstands the impulses of desire and anger has a cheerful and peaceful mind. This state of being cheerful is necessary for one who intends to practice a discipline. A person with a cheerful and stable temperament gradually achieves divinity and ultimately attains perfection.
So I think the only thing that I'd like to emphasize here is the second question, which is like, and the third question, is it possible to do it in the physical form and while living in this world? And the reason why this question is worth pondering on is the outside world is very noisy. And the fact that we have this body, we are made of this, we're made of sansar, we're made of elements of this world. Our entire experience in this world is very, very noisy. We are constantly being stimulated, whether we are aware of it or not aware of it. Like right now, all of us are wearing t-shirts. Our clothes are touching various parts of our body and that we're just not even aware of. But they are touching us all over. It's only when we move, we can actually feel certain elements of it touch, right? And so we're constantly engaging in this world. And because we're constantly engaging in this world, our mind and senses are constantly engaged there. So this is why this question needs to be thought about a little more, is the only way we can continue on this path and achieve happiness is by strengthening our own efforts to practice. Sharpen our intellect with the right knowledge, with the right principles, so that the intellect is focused on the right things and not sansar.
Yeah, but this is a very big assurance from the Lord here.
Yeah.
It says that this is moksha. And this moksha is possible in this, while living in this world, in this life itself. It is not something that we say, oh, it is so tough that, maybe it will take me lots of lifetimes, or that I will attain moksha after death. No, moksha is for here and now, for living a happy, peaceful life. And that's the end game, right? It's not about like, oh, who knows what will happen after death. So we have to achieve it here and now, right?
Yeah. No. Yeah.
Anmol, will you read next?
Thus, on one hand, the objects of external enjoyment should be regarded as being transient, momentary, and harbingers of suffering only, and on the other, the impulses of desire, anger, should be withstood. The Lord now describes the distinctive attainment of the Sankhya Yogi who reaches the culmination of this discipline.
Yo antah sukho antararamaha.
Yo yantah sukho antaramaha.
Tathantar jyotirev yaha.
Tathantar jyotirveha.
Jyotirev yaha.
Jyotireva yaha.
Sa yogi brahma nirvanam.
Sa yogi brahma nirvanam.
Brahma bhuto adhikachati.
Brahma bhuto digachati.
Yo is that person. Antah sukho is happy in himself. Antararam is established in self. Tathantar jyotireva yaha. Knowledge is the jyoti, the light or the illumination of knowledge is within himself. Sa yogi, such a yogi, Brahma Nirvan, attains self-liberation. Brahma Nirvanam, one who has attained Brahma, so self-liberation. Brahma Bhuto Adhigachati. Adhigachati is one who has a gati towards, or walks towards, or has achieved. Brahma Bhuto. So what is the gati of such a person? Brahma Bhuto. Identification with Brahma.
One who enjoys inner happiness, the inner comfort, and the inner illumination of the spirit attains self-liberation and complete identification with divinity. A yogi enjoys inner happiness, inner comfort, and inner illumination. The Lord speaks of three distinctive qualities of such a yogi.
So before we read the three, two things. I've already given that example of moths to light, right? Like it's our inner nature, we will constantly chase it. The second thing, which is also true, is whatever is inside of us will constantly manifest outside. So if you have a certain amount of uh, fear or anxiety about something, those situations will constantly come in front of you, because that is what you're creating as part of your
Reality.
as part of your reality, right? A yogi, on the other hand, because he or she has gone inward towards their own happiness, everything in this world becomes a manifestation of that. That's all they see. So, like a realized person, or he wouldn't see 12 different individuals on the screen. He would see God in 12 different forms on his screen. And when he's interacting with each one of us, he would be interacting to the divinity within us, not the body and the animality that covers it. Right? So this shloka actually emphasizes on this point in a very clear way. Ki whatever you experience within you, whatever you find within you, however your starting point is, then that's how you will start seeing the world as well. So we can go ahead and read this.
Sorry, it's just one more thing, right? To bring out what he was saying. So what is inside of us is reflected outside of us. Is also, to give you another example, right? If we meet a realized person, right, we will never end up talking to that person about, something inane like restaurants. Like, hey, I went to eat here and, that dish was really tasty and, you should go and try this. That's just never a conversation you'll create with such a person. You will never sit in front of that person and start complaining about, 10 different people. You'll never do gossiping with that person, right? Why is that so? But when you go and meet some friend with whom we've always been gossiping, that's the first thing that comes out, right? You meet that person, immediately gossip starts. So the reason for this is because the realized saint has created that divinity inside of him, which radiates outside. So it doesn't matter who I am. When I meet him, what I show up as in front of him will be what he takes out of me. Then the same me goes in another situation and I show up differently. Then I go and come up in another situation and I show up differently. So we show up differently in different situations if we are not in control of ourselves. And we really don't know who we are, right? Because we are showing up as a reaction to external stimulus. But then the same thing can be used as your own power. If you are in control of yourself, then people around you, whoever they may be with other people, they will show up as the person you need them to be in front of you. And that is why you are the manifester of your relationships. If you have an issue with someone else, it is not that person's problem. You have the power to control that relationship and drive that relationship to what you want it to be through your own manifestation, through your own behavior, and through your control of yourself and your impulses. So next time when we have a relationship that we want to work upon, we can work upon ourselves and we can create that reality. That's the power we all have.
Thank you, Turina. That's really powerful. Thanks. Thank you.
First, inner happiness. Whatever happiness appears to exist in the object of the senses is in fact only a glimpse of the inner happiness of the spirit or oneself. It is a mistake to get lured by external appearance of these objects and to expect happiness from them. The beauty of a flower enables everyone to have a glimpse of the beauty of the Creator. To allow the mind to dwell on the beauty of the flower can be for a limited span of time only. Contemplating this in this manner, the yogi is not bound to the external appearances, nor is any happiness derived therefrom. Being always in communication with the Creator constitutes the source of the inner happiness of such a yogi. Second, inner comfort. A person with inner comfort is one who is absorbed in contemplation of the divine light that pervades everything. Such a Jnana yogi is not lured by the external form or beauty of the objects. Such a yogi is not attached to external forms, but is in enjoyment of the pleasure of divine communion. Third, inner illumination. The Jnana yogi is not attracted by the external glamour of worldly objects, but is in enjoyment of the divine luster manifesting itself in the shape of glamorous objects. This leads to a constant enjoyment of inner illumination. The culminating point of yoga is divinity itself. For the yogi, the divine form has infinite serenity, and this results in attainment of self-liberation.
So this shloka also connects to the last closing shloka that we were reading, the Purnamada Purnamidam, where the shloka says that the whole and complete has manifested us in as whole and complete, but then they've also manifested the entire world as whole and complete. So everything is his manifestation. And a yogi essentially looks for that little light, illumination, spark, beauty, which attracts us to him, or which makes us present to his presence.
Connects to us that way.
He connects to us that way. He reminds us that he exists through that beauty, because he knows we are moths, we will chase it.
This is also reflected in a saying that we've heard very often, right? People rise to the expectations we have of them. So if we tell a child that, oh, you are silly, you'll never learn, you are like this only, that child will grow up to be exactly as per your expectations, at least in relation to you. And that's true of everyone, our colleagues, our family members, and whatever be our relationship with others. So let's always have high expectations from ourselves, and then connect to the highest and the best in other people too. And when we connect with the highest and the best in other people, they will show up as that highest and best in themselves in relation to us, because they will rise to our expectations of them. I think we'll close here.
Om Sarvesham Swastirбhavatu,
Sarvesham Shantirbhavatu, Sarvesham Mangalam Bhavatu, Sarvesham Mangalam Bhavatu. Om Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinah, Sarve Santu Niramayaha, Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu, Ma Kaschid Dukha Bhag Bhavet. Om Asato Ma Satkamaya, Tamaso Ma Jyotirgamaya, Mrityorma Amritam Gamaya. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.
stop कर दी